All throughout my life, for as long as I can remember, I've been a pretty passive kid. I remember I was the kind of kid, when your relatives come home, they give your example to their own kids. Be like Rehan, be like this, be like that. Look at how passive he is. Look at how much of a good boy he is. And this has resulted in me actually never having gotten in a fight. Never in my life have I had a disagreement or a fight with another man. Even when I was in situations like these, somehow they de-escalated without me ever getting to have to fight. And just to clear the air, I do know how to fight. I trained boxing for 1.5 years. I'm bigger than most guys, like most average guys. I'm 5'11". I weigh 80 kilograms. So I'm bigger than the average man. I know how to fight more than the average man. Yet still, I have never actually gotten into a fight or initiated one. And it's one of those things. Obviously, not getting into fights is great. Not risking yourself out on the street is great. But I have a very masculine fear about this. Look, if I was someone who was always hot-headed, if I was someone who was always aggressive and getting into fights, and then I learned how to meditate and learn to fight, and then I calmed down myself, then I became more enlightened. That is a more cooler scenario than the current one, where even though I've learned how to fight, even though I'm bigger than most people that go to the gym, I still cannot say that I, learned to control my male aggression, because honestly, I never had one. I never had that sort of male aggression in me. As a kid, I was really passive. I was a pushover. As an adult now, how do I explain this? I'm so narcissistic that I feel like giving any amount of time and concern and calories to a random bum on the street is not worth it. For example, I'll be standing in traffic and the guy behind me just keeps honking. And honestly, that warrants me getting off of my bike and clogging him in the chin. But I don't do that because I'm like, yeah, I don't really care about this person. Even though the honking is really annoying, I don't care that much about this person to actually start a fight. I think naturally, fights never come to me themselves because, like I said, I'm bigger than most people and I don't really have that sort of a victim body language about me where people just can come up and start fights, because this actually happens a lot when you're super fat or you're super skinny. People will actually take that as an invitation that they can start fighting with you for no fucking reason. That has never happened with me either. It's because I mind my own fucking business. I don't get into people's shit. I'm not that social that I'll, go up to people. And I see this all the time, guys will be with people who are not actually their friends, like not close friends, just barely acquaintances, and they'll start cussing and they'll start abusing, they'll start making fun of each other. And that's how it ends up in fights, You say something you're not supposed to, the other person is having a bad day, he takes it in the worst way possible, and then you have a fight on your hands. This has never happened with me because I don't fuck around, so I don't find out. That's the way it's always been with me. And like I said, it's a virtuous quality, but it's not that virtuous for me. Internally in my own heart, it's not that virtuous for me, because what if I'm just a coward? What if I have never gotten into a fight because I don't have the balls to get into a fight? Seriously, I have never actually hit a person outside of the boxing ring. That's the only place where I've actually fought. And other than that, I have never. This just brings a lot of questions to my head about my own self-esteem and what kind of man I am, because majority of the people have gotten into fights. Especially if there's someone who is built, who is, not abnormally skinny or abnormally fat. Majority of the people have gotten into fights. I mean, fuck, my little 8-year-old brother has gotten into fights with his friends. I remember one day he was just there with his friend in my room. In my room, and something happened and his friend said something to him. And my brother, he took off his jacket and started beating his friend with it. This is something I really miss out on. Am I really missing out on something? Is this supposed to be FOMO? I don't fucking know. This is a really big question I ask myself. Why do I not have that sort of aggression? Either I'm simply just above it, which is, I like to believe, majority of the people would actually believe that. The reason I don't get into fights is that I'm simply above those fights, right? I don't give a fuck. I don't really care that much to actually start a fight. I understand the consequences and possibilities of violence. I know that I have a long life ahead of me. I have a lot of goals. I have a lot of dreams, and I simply cannot risk that over a fucking 2-second skirmish of being annoyed. I think that may not be it, because I do fight my family members. I get into arguments pretty often. So I think it's mostly a factor of I care about my family members. I feel attached to them, and that's why I can fight with them. But a random bum on the street, I don't care if he lives or dies. So I don't even try to start shit or fight. But like I said, I can't say for sure because I've always been a passive kid. I've never been that sort of aggressive kid who fights, who gets into shit with his friends, randomly out playing cricket one day. That has never been me. And so, do you all think I should be more aggressive, the next time something is happening on the street? I can't remember specific examples right now, but you get it. In day-to-day life, something happens where, for example, someone cuts in front of you in the line and things like these. Do you think it's worth it to start a fight at that moment? Obviously, you're risking your health, you're risking yourself. You don't know what kind of person that is. but still you get to walk away with your male fragile ego. And that's something I really want to do, because simply because I've never done that, simply because I've never gotten into fights. The only way I've come close to getting into fights is that someone around me, someone I'm with, they get into a fight, and then I have to like, if then a fight starts, if like my best friend or my brother or sister, if they're about to get into a fight, I'm there already. Like I'm ready to just, fuck shit up. But I've never been the aggressor, and I've never been the first person to call someone out. For example, I remember this one time I was going to a fair, like, what do you even call it? Like a amusement park fair sort of thing with my parents and my little brother. And my mom and I, we were going through the entrance, and that was actually the exit. Even though there wasn't a board on there, it was the exit and not the entrance. And as we were going, like a guy rushes up and he says that this is not the entry. You cannot go from here. And his tone was a bit, in that gray area between like yelling and normally speaking. And my mom was probably agitated that day, and she actually started yelling back. Now, totally my mother's fault actually, because that person is just doing their job, and sure, they yelled a bit. I mean, didn't even yell that much, honestly. It didn't feel like yelling to me. Some people just have a crass way of speaking. And my mother started yelling, and he actually tried to de-escalate it, but his son, like the guy's son, he started yelling back. And as soon as that happened, it's over. Like, I can't really back down. So I put myself between my mother and them, and I'm ready to like, fuck shit up. I'm like puffing up. I'm like, yeah, what's up? You want to run the fade right now? But that situation de-escalated because, the father, like the guy who, told us to not enter from here, he de-escalated. He said, I'm sorry. And he pulled his son back. Probably because his job actually relied on it. If a fight happened, he would lose his job. But still, like, the point is, obviously everyone is a bit scared to get into fights. I have definitely been in those situations without backing down, especially when someone I care about initiated the fight and a fight is about to happen. Like, at that point, it doesn't matter who is wrong, who is right. You explain that later. If a fight happens with that, when you're with your friend, with your brother, your family, you just fight. And afterwards, you explain to them that this is not cool. This is not how it's supposed to happen. They could have a weapon on them. They could be connected to a big politician. So in summary, I've never been the first aggressor. I have never been the one to react to a rage bait. I've never been the one to react to a rage bait first. I do know how to fight. I'm a big guy naturally. I have some doubts about being a passive person just normally because of my childhood and the way I was raised. And so I don't know what to do with all these variables. I can't tell if I'm just a coward or I'm just naturally, since I was a kid, I just naturally don't care that much to actually get into fights. Like, if I'm on the road and somebody just abruptly cuts me off, I'm like, sure, bro, go ahead. Earn your fucking $10 million that you will earn just by being 30 seconds earlier to your office. Just be 30 seconds earlier to listen to your boss. Fuck you in the ass. Like, how dystopian is that people are actually risking their lives on the road, driving rash just to get to their office 2 minutes earlier because they're late, just so that their boss can actually give them shit and yell at them and tell them to go fuck yourself. Like, people will actually put their lives on the line just to listen to their boss tell them to fuck, what the fuck has happened to my speech? Just to have their boss tell them fuck off. People will risk their lives on the road for that. I have never had traditional bullies. Because like, the only sort of bullying I got was mostly just my friends. Like, I used to be really fat. So somebody just calls me a fatty and I cry about it and go to my mother and then she deals with them. Stuff like that. I've never been traditionally bullied in school. One of my friends used to be fat, but he used to be like big fat, like, the big kind of fat. And so people didn't really mess with us because, if he sat on them, they would die. They knew that fact. So people didn't really mess with us. And after that, I discovered self-improvement. I improved myself to the point that I have some sort of physicality. I have a decent frame. And so people naturally don't really see me as a easy victim to start fights. And after that also I did boxing. So I'm very confident that in a fight, I can easily just knock out a regular guy who doesn't know how to fight, who gets in your face with their chest out like, yeah, what's up? I can just clock their chin really fast and they will fall to the ground like a bunch of sticks. But ultimately, again and again, my concern is this something that is learned? Is this something that I'm just mature? I just learned to avoid conflict, to just not give a fuck about something on the road, that I would actually risk my own life and hopes and aspirations for them? Or is it something just that is innate? I'm just naturally a coward who doesn't want to get into fights, who doesn't want to initiate fights. Because sometimes I think it can be really like good for your self-esteem if you're able to stand up for yourself. I don't know, man. Like, the other day I went to the post office to actually, like, my grandfather, he gave me some money and his passbook to deposit that money into his account. And the timing for the lunch break is usually 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. I go on to the post office And I asked them to deposit this, and they said, no, it's lunch break. And I said, the lunch break ended at 1:30, right? It was like 1:32 something. And he said, no, it's still 2 p.m. Ideally, if I have to think in a masculine way, I should have gotten in their face like, what do you mean? It's 1 to 1:30. What do you mean? It's still 2 p.m. But I think a lot of it, again, I saw this video by Chatai where he just talks about like, as Indians, we've been trained to be good soldiers. We've trained to be, to not question someone, to not stand up to someone. That's the way we've been trained. Maybe I'm just a victim of that training so much that I don't really get into confrontations, especially like, no, I don't think there's a way to justify it. I just avoid confrontations as much as I can, especially with people I don't know. Like the people I know, I can be confrontational with them, like my family and stuff. But the people I don't know, I like to think it's because I just don't care that much. But I'm sure there might be something deeper that just makes me a coward and not want to actually confront them. Yeah, it's kind of fucked. I don't really know what's up. Like, if you have some sort of idea, if you're someone who goes through the same thing, let me know in the comments. My name is Rehan. I'm a 20-year-old guy on self-improvement. I've made progress in some areas of life, but I still struggle with others. If you're someone who can relate as well, if you're a guy on self-improvement as well, make sure to stick around. I'm sure you'll find some valuable videos on this channel. And this is just a hobby channel, by the way. My main thing is I have an agency that does content. So if you're someone who is looking to grow in the content space, make sure to just apply in the description. There will be my email. So you can apply over there in the description and we'll see where it goes from there. And that's about it. See ya.